to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the war room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
And I am back once again. I am tucked away into the war room somewhere in the high desert of southern Idaho. And it is Wednesday of all days, and our weather has cooled off today. We always got to start this podcast with a weather report. So we are back up into the 90s again. Today is supposed to be mid-70s, which feels like winter, which feels amazing. We need to be done with the hot weather. We need the cool weather back. Todd needs a blizzard. It's time for me to it's time for him to clean his guns. It's time for me to clean my firearms again. Although I was pretty lucky a couple weeks ago when I had some women's group in here, and we were cleaning guns in that class, and one of them actually offered to clean my gun for me. So I handed her my HK VP9, and she got it all nice and shiny, and it's the best that thing's looked in a long time. So I need to teach more of those classes, but not a lot going on this week. I got a couple classes coming up this week. I got a permit class coming up in a couple of weeks. I will say, I don't even have them in front of me. Said can't remember the exact name of them, but I was going to give you guys kind of a range report on that new Ear Pro that I have been using. It's the Axle. They're like the inner earbuds. I forget the actual name of them, but they're the Bluetooth ones. They actually go to actually go in your ear. They're not connected with the little strap. They're like the little earpieces. Absolutely fantastic Ear Pro. Maybe a little spendy, but well worth it. Works absolutely fantastic. Comes in a little case, a little charging case, kind of like I don't have any of these, but kind of like EarPods, Apple EarPods, I think is what they're called, where you charge the case, and the case like recharges like 3 or 4 different times. Will recharge the little earpieces. So check those out if you're in the mood for some new Ear Pro, some good Ear Pro. And the problem with me was I use them all the time, and I was going through them so quickly. I started off with the muffs, and they were okay, but when it got hot out, they were sticky. My ears would sweat. I just didn't like the feeling of them during the middle of the summer. So then I went and I started using the walkers, I believe it's the walkers, and they the kind of the ones you stuck in the ear, little earbuds, and that you stuck in your ears and connected with a cable. Those worked real well for a long time. I went through 2 or 3 of those, and I kind of grabbed these. I was actually gifted these earpieces through Axle, and absolutely fantastic. I think these are going to be the ones I'm going to stick with for quite a while. They seem like they're just tons of quality, and they work really well, and they stay in my ears, which is an important thing. I know even the little earbuds that I used from Walker, they would kind of work their way out of my ear during class. And in fact, even though they had the electronic amplification in them, I would have to when I was talking, I would just pop one out because it was just easier to talk, right, and to hear different things. But these new ones, these Axles, they work really, really well. I leave them in my ears the entire class. I don't take them out. They seal up really well. I don't have a negative thing to say about them. So there you go. Right now, I've been using them without recharging them. I want to see kind of how long I can get them to go. So I'll keep you guys updated on that. But what else do I got going on? It's kind of a something new I was going to try here. And if you guys, obviously you listen to the podcast, if you noticed, last week I was getting ready to go out of town. I had a race, and I had a trip over to Oregon, and I didn't really have time to do a podcast, but I wanted to put something out. So I took one of my really early episodes, back when my equipment wasn't quite the best yet, but I still made for an okay podcast. I went ahead and I re-uploaded it, and I called it my Tactical Reload. And I haven't looked yet. I was going to look and see how many people actually downloaded that, how many people actually listened to that. because I do have those numbers if I bother to look them all up. But I think what I'm going, I mean, I hope you guys all enjoyed that episode. I mean, I think there's probably there's a portion of people that have already heard it. And then I think that when I first released it years ago, and then I think that there is a portion of people that are new and may have not heard that before. What I would like to start doing is a new podcast, one new podcast a week like I've been doing. And then every week also, later on in the week, I think I'm going to re-release what I call a tactical reload. So it's there. If you want to listen to an old one, fantastic. If you want to listen to the new one's there. If you want to listen to both of them, I mean, the option is there. So I think you're going to hopefully start seeing two come across your player, your phone, your computer, whatever, 2 a week. And one's going to be the new one. I'll release the new episode first. It'll be earlier in the week. And then toward the end of the week, I'll do the tactical reload and re-upload an older episode. So I think we'll just kind of do that and see how that rolls. Give you guys a little more content to digest. And as we get into them, and when I re-release them, when I do the tactical reloads, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the beginning as far back as I have saved, and I'm going to re-release those. Just in order, 1, 2. I don't count episodes. I don't know how many I'm on, but we'll start with the first and do the second and then do the third. And that's the way we're going to do it. So, they might be, shockingly, poor quality. And if that happens, just bear with it. Just know that's the way it sounded, when I first started doing my podcast. And so we'll just kind of go from there. I hope that works out. We'll kind of see how I can view the downloads and kind of see how that's working out for me. So I hope you guys will enjoy that. Now I'm looking at my list here. I did create a list, and I've already talked about one thing on that list. Now I'm going to talk about my trip to Oregon. It was an interesting trip, and as I travel and I go to these other states, people. I went down there for a race. I like to run, and so I had a big race on the Oregon coast that I was participating in, which went well, but it didn't go well. That's not for this podcast. It's not a shooting thing, so we won't get into it now. But when I go to Oregon, I go to these states, and I did dip down into California a little bit. I was a little rerouted on my travels and had to stayed in Oregon, but we did go down to we had the grandkids with me and my kids with me, and so we went down to an aquarium down in California as well. And everyone asked me, like, when you travel, do you take your firearms? And typically I do. And this trip I was going to Oregon, so legally, I don't have a permit that Oregon will recognize, and I obviously don't have a permit that California will recognize. So I will neither confirm nor deny that I had a firearm with me on the trip. But I was thinking about a few things. It was a long drive down there. It was like 13, 14-hour drive. And I like to drive, and I like to get off the main roads, and I like to get back on the highways and go through the little towns and go through the back roads and some of the beautiful places that we're able to see, right? I mean, we're talking roads that are like, I lengthened my trip quite a bit. There's another way you can go down. You can go clear into Oregon via the interstate, come up down the gorge via the interstate into Portland, and then drop down the 101 along the coast there. But that is actually a lot further. But I didn't mind slowing it down. I was on roads where I was doing 45 miles an hour, and it drove my son-in-law nuts because he was they were following in their vehicle, and he got to go my old man speeds, which was kind of entertaining for me. But beautiful, beautiful little towns in the middle of the coastal range, in the middle of the mountains. Absolutely just wonderful places. And I look around, and we drive by because the timber industry is big in that part of Oregon, and we drive by and we'd see tons of wood mills and timber mills and stacks of trees and boards, and there was logging trucks everywhere, people out farming, all kinds of stuff. And these are just normal, everyday, just salt of the earth people out there, right? And then I sit there and I think about the gun laws in Oregon. I think about what was just passed over there, and I think about how that state, and I grew up in Oregon. I'd be 100% honest with you. Spent most of my childhood in Oregon. It was Eastern Oregon, Hermiston, Umatilla area, if you're familiar, kind of over by Pendleton. But I grew up in that area, and it was a lot different then. But nowadays, we have places like Portland, and where that whole state is ran and is ruled, is controlled by Portland and the people that live there. And I look at the rights that are being taken away from them. I don't even have the bill in front of me here, but that big anti-gun, take your gun rights away type of a bill that just passed, that just went through there, just gutted the Second Amendment in that state. Just gutted it. And I feel so bad for those people. They're hardworking people, and they need to pay attention to what's going on in their state, and I think they do. But you also have this middle class, working class of people that are just focused on doing what? They're focused on going to work every single day, working hard. I mean, you're logging, you're doing that kind of work, factory work, whatever. You're working hard every single day, and you're just trying to do what? You're just trying to pay your bills. You're just trying to keep the lights on. You're just trying to have a house to live in and make sure your family is as healthy and as happy as they possibly can be, right? You're focused on that. You're working hard for that. You're trying to live the American dream. But yet you got these yahoos in places like Portland. They're going to come in and they're going to take your rights away from you. I'm sure that someone who's working hard noticed that some of them may not have been. But man, you work hard to do this. You work hard to raise your family and keep them safe and fed and protected. And then you have these people that just come in and just vote willy-nilly to just gut your rights, gut your Second Amendment rights, take away all your rights. And you are actually, even though they're considering you middle income to low income, blue collar, you are what makes this world go round. You are what makes this country work. This country is running off of taxes, your hardworking taxes. And then they're going to take your taxes, right? They are going to feed themselves. They are going to give themselves high-ranking positions and pay themselves absurd amounts of money. And then they're going to go ahead and just take your rights anyway. Right? You are supporting them. They are supposed to be working for you. You are, those people are supporting them. Those hardworking Americans, those hardworking blue-collar workers everywhere. I'm just focused right now on the state of Oregon, right? They are supporting those people that are in office that just took their rights away. Absolutely, it's ridiculous. Like, it's unfathomable, but it happens all the time. Same things happen in Washington. Same thing's they're going to try, and it's going to try and happen here in Idaho if we don't pay attention. As I was driving through the little back roads, and what really kicked this off as I'm driving these little back roads and these little coastal mountain roads going through these little tiny towns, and just gorgeous over there. And I'll straight up, man, I would move back to Oregon in a heartbeat. I would live in one of those little towns in the coastal range. I would move to the Oregon coast if I could make it work, and if they would change their policies, I would be there in 2 seconds. Right, I would pack up everything and just go, but I can't. But as I was tooling around over there, all of a sudden we came to this intersection, and I looked up, and I posted about this on my Facebook page, and there was a big sign there that said Roseburg, Oregon, and it jogged my memory just a little bit, and I'm looking up because I failed to give me just a minute. I failed to pull this up when I should, because sometimes when I talk, it just kind of flows, and I never know where I'm going. So, and I just think about this in Roseburg, Oregon. So, does anyone remember the Umpqua Community College shooting? So it says the Umpqua Community College shooting occurred on October 1st, 2015 at the UCC campus near Roseburg, Oregon. Chris Harper Mercer, a 26-year-old student who was enrolled at the school, fatally shot an assistant professor and 8 students in a classroom and injured 8 others. Roseburg police detectives responded to the incident and engaged Harper Mercer in a brief shootout. After being wounded, he committed suicide by shooting himself in the head. So some little town, Roseburg's not a little town. Roseburg's, it's not humongous, but it's not little either. But, at a town nestled in the middle of the Oregon mountains, possibly the coastal range. I'm not quite sure where that starts. Beautiful area, right? You have something like this happen. These hardworking, middle class, working class people, the blue collar folks, greatest people on the planet. You have something like this happens. Yet, this is back in 2015, right? Yet that state still went in and now made it even harder for these Oregonians to protect themselves with this new bill that was just put into place earlier this year. So pay attention to where you live. I don't care where you live. I don't care if it's Washington, Idaho, Texas, Oregon, Utah, New Mexico. You can tell what part of the country I live in, right? Nevada, whatever it is. Pay attention to what's going on in your state. Don't let them come in and walk all over you. Don't let them take your rights. You are you're a hardworking American, right? You possibly are, I know I am, working class Americans, and you are paying them. You are paying their salaries. You are funding them, and then they're going to come in and take your rights and stomp all over you and do whatever they want. That's not right, and that's not right. And here's the key. Here's the kicker, right, is they are taking away and trying to regulate the item that you use to protect yourself and your family. So the items that you use for your and your family's security, which is the firearms, they want to come in and they want to take them away, and they want to regulate them into non-existence, making it difficult for you to own them. Yet, guess what? You are paying them. Your tax dollars are paying for their what? For their security, for their bodyguards, for their armed security, armed law enforcement. They don't want you to have it. They're going to keep theirs because they're better than you, and you're going to pay for it with your tax dollars. That's what's absolutely crazy about the whole deal. So just think about that next time. Think about that. It's time you pay attention to what is going on in your state. If you aren't, pay attention. If you are, keep up the work. I know that there's a bunch of stuff going over in the state of Massachusetts. A friend of mine, Mo, she's really active up there with there's a gun. She's gonna get mad at me now, but I think it's GOAL. She's a member of GOAL, and that's an acronym for Gun Owners Action League, I believe. She'll correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the Gun Owners Action League, and they are fighting against that big. I think it's 4220 that's up there right now that they're trying to push through. I probably got that wrong as well, but they are pushing that through. They are trying to fight against that. They had a big event up there, educating everyone on it. Trying to figure out, what to do, organizing so they can fight against this thing. So pay attention to what's going on because it can change. It can change overnight. It really, really, really can. So, okay, so let's get into some other topics I have, and that's probably, honestly, about as political as I'm going to get today. I didn't open up my computer, and I didn't get any audio links today. No news stories, no nothing. Because occasionally, sometimes I like to just have 100% original content, right? And I don't want to talk a lot of politics. So what I wanted to talk about next is, I have these classes. I have a lot of classes every month. I have these permit classes and different things like that. And I had a class earlier this week where some people came in, a couple, husband and wife. They came in and they didn't feel comfortable. They'd taken a permit class, and they did not feel comfortable after the class, like they knew enough to actually carry their gun or even go out and shoot again. They wanted to feel a little bit safer. They wanted some more individualized personal training. So they came to me, and we did that. And I think they're actually going to be back here in a few weeks, hopefully, for some more. But it was a great day. But I was talking to him about where they took their permit class. And I will say this. I understand when he said, hey, we didn't feel like we got the training we need, or we don't feel comfortable enough yet to go out and shoot our guns, on our own. They're new firearms owners, and I get that. I understand what they're saying, but I also do understand, and I've said this before, your permit class, and kudos to them for seeking out more training. And this isn't a knock on them or anyone, but your permit class is not a training class, right? Your permit class is not a training class. Your permit class is a class to get you your concealed carry permit. Your permit class is a class to teach you, like in Idaho, it's the ins and outs of the Idaho lethal force laws, all the laws that you might come up against when it comes to carrying a firearm, where you can carry it, how you can carry it, what to do when you get stopped by law enforcement, what to do if you're in an incident where you have to use your firearm, all that stuff, right? How you can and can't sell a firearm in the state. You're going to learn that. And then you're going to go out and you're going to fire 98 rounds. And I know I've touched on this numerous times. When you fire 98 rounds, they don't give you a set of drills or anything like that you have to shoot. You just have to fire 98 rounds. And I've heard there's some people that just go out, some instructors just go out there and like load your magazine, dump them into the ground, and we're good to go. I don't do that here, obviously. We've went over that. Now, I was asking him about his class, and he talked about it. He said the law portion is really good, and they really enjoyed, I know the instructor, and they really enjoyed the instructor, and he was absolutely fantastic. And he's a pretty good guy. Now I asked him about the shooting portion, and they didn't feel like they got enough attention with the shooting portion of it. And I asked them what they did. Well, first of all, they went to this permit class, and they had to have holsters, they had to have mag holders, they had to have all this stuff, right? Which kind of, for me, is a little bit of an alarm bell that kind of went off. Now, I'll explain why people are saying, well, if you could carry a gun, you need to have a holster. You need to know how to do this. You need to know how to do that. And you are correct. But when you're in a permit class, I mean, you should just be working on the fundamentals and the safety and making sure you know how to have the correct trigger press, the sight picture, the stance, the grip, that kind of stuff. In my mind, and I usually surprises everybody. They ask me, do I need a holster in your permit class? You do not need a holster in your permit class. In fact, I don't want you to have a holster in the permit class. If you bring one, you will not be using it. We leave the gun sitting on the tables that sit on the firing line because I need to have 100% control of the situation, right? I don't want people standing back behind me with a gun holstered that I don't know if are they new, are they going to draw the gun, are they not going to draw the gun. Teaching a holster is one of the more dangerous things that I can do. And so we do not do that here because I might have 15 to 30 people in a permit class and they have different levels of experience. And some might be brand new, and that's fine if you're brand new, right? But it just surprised me in this permit class that these students attended that they needed to have a holster, they needed to have mag holders, and from what I could tell, they had 3 targets, and there was like 15 people in the class. They had 3 targets, and 3 people would come up and they'd shoot, then they'd go back and stand behind the other people, and 3 more people would come up and shoot, and all the while, and I'm sure it was hopefully safe, but all the while you had people that were standing behind people that were shooting with their guns. They were in the holsters. Hopefully, I'm assuming they were. No one got hurt as far as I know, but the guns were in the holsters. But you were also risking something there, right? You're risking something. You're giving a student, and I do try to think my students are responsible, but when you have a firearm and you might be new, I'd be honest, I don't really trust you. I need to keep an eye what's going on with you, and I need to keep you and other people around you, other students around you, safe. And so I'm not a big fan of you're back behind everyone with this gun that's in the holster, and I just don't dig that. Now, I'm sure someone could look at the way I run my permit classes and just tear it apart too if it's not to their liking. That tends to happen. But just, how much is too much when it comes to a permit class, and you got different levels of experience levels in that class. Like one of the things that the student brought to me was, and in the class we talked about trigger reset. We talked about, and they're like, I could never figure out the trigger reset. Say, how much is too much? It's kind of a simple concept. It's an important concept. You need to know that when you're shooting quicker and faster in the future, right? But is that too much for a permit class? If you've got someone who has just bought the firearm and they're still trying to do what? Get the grip correct every time they get their firearm out. They're trying to line the sights up correctly. They're trying to get a good, solid trigger press, whenever they take the shot. Is that too early to work in trigger reset? If I'm in class and I'm in a permit class and I know that there's someone I'm watching them and you can tell and they've shot quite a bit and their grip is down and all that stuff's down and solid, I may give them a little nugget, right? A little nugget of info. Hey, do you know what trigger reset is? Let's look at trigger reset real quick. But am I going to go over and tell that to the person who's brand new, who's just trying to master the trigger press, and now all of a sudden I'm going to talk to him about trigger reset? I think that's, in my mind, I think that's going a little too far. I think even in my beginners classes, it's not a permit class. We come in, we work on the safety, we work on the fundamentals, and if they are catching on and progressing, then I'll talk about the trigger reset. But typically, you know what? That's when they come back for that second class. Let's talk about trigger control. Let's talk about all of trigger control, and part of that is how to press it, but part of that is the trigger reset. Now, why do we do that? And that works you into another class of let's shoot a little quicker, let's shoot a little faster. You're going to have to understand trigger reset. So let's discuss that then. I think that is just, you're going into that a little too soon. That's my take on it. And so here this student was, they're focused on trying to get this trigger reset correct, but yet they still didn't even have their trigger press, the correct trigger press into place. I think you confuse students when you throw too much at them too fast. You have to master these individual skills and then start to build on them. Now let's talk about this. So when I do the shooting portion of my permit class, we do, there's 7-round drills. That's 7-round right hand, 7-round left hand, 7-round this stance, 7-round that stance. We do the first 50 slow, the second round, the second 50 rounds. We speed it up a little bit, so it's more like a defensive shooting. You're gonna bring it up, and you're gonna kind of speed up. You're gonna bring it up 2 shots down, up 2 shots. You're acquiring the target a little quicker. You're not taking time to hone it in. You're getting it on that center mass target. 2 rounds, drop, and then lower your gun. Come up 2 rounds, lower your gun. Come up 2 rounds, lower your gun. Okay. In this class, they were doing 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. Is that more of a? It's gonna sound crazy. Well, that's not gonna sound crazy, but it's the way I feel, right? 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. Is that like a? I mean, honestly, I feel like 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. That's more of a video game, tactical mall cop type of scenario. Will it work to put down? Yes, it will. Right? Do I teach 2 to the chest, 1 to the head? If I'm doing certain drills, possibly, but I just don't think you should be teaching that on a permit class, man. Make sure they know the fundamentals. Make sure they are solid on those, and then they can progress. Is that just I'm cool, 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, 2 to the chest, 1 to the head? I mean, that used to be the big thing on all the internet gun forums that I was a part of, early on, 15 years ago. 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. That's that tactical, look at me, I'm a tactical mall ninja. I don't get that. I don't know why an instructor would actually use that at that point in that type of class. Is it just to show off? Is it just to make everyone feel that they're high speed? I don't get that. I don't get that at all. Maybe it's just me, and I'll probably get lots of calls and text people going, well, Todd, maybe you're just not cool as them other instructors. I'm just telling you how I teach, and I'm telling you kind of the steps I teach, and I don't even like the term, honestly, double tap. I'd rather have like a controlled pair. That's a whole tactical thing with me. It just bothers me. So there you go. There's my thoughts on that. just know, though, that if you do go and get your permit, if you do go and take your permit class, whatever state you live in, just know it's really not a training class, that you should probably go and seek out more training, a little more advanced training, and a little more one-on-one training. One-on-one training goes a long ways, and that's why I will do some group classes if I can get people to sign up for them, but that's pretty much why my bread and butter after the permit class is just one-on-one private classes, because I can get there, I can focus on them for a couple hours, and we can jump over hurdles, break down hurdles, break down barriers, and get them to learn stuff and muscle memory. And like I said, I'm right there, one-on-one attention, and we can get you to progress down the path, so you feel more confident and safer. A lot better than if I were to have 20 people in class, and even me and 2 other guys are running around trying to get everyone. This one-on-one is much better. And if you can afford that, or you can find someone who offers that by far is the way to go. So let's talk about something else here. Let's talk about a gun dealer. So the gun dealers, the guys that sell the guns behind the counters. What kind of responsibilities do they have, or do they not have any responsibilities? I don't know. I've picked on gun dealers before, and I got friends that sell guns. I get it, and they get frustrated, not with me, but with other things as well. I've always told people that if you go into a gun store and you have a certain gun in mind that you want, go in with an open mind. But if you have a certain gun that you want, don't let them come in. And if you're a woman, you're a female, walk in there and say, "Oh, no, little missy, you need this revolver, you need this 38 special," right? Don't let them do that. Don't let them put you in a box or categorize you. Okay, now they shouldn't do that. But I do think they have a little bit, and then granted, some of them are just there to sell, and that's fine. You're going to get those kinds of people. Some of them just sell whatever they have on the counter. Okay. Now, if you show up like these people showed up, they wanted certain firearms, right? And this woman, she had read up on Glocks, so she showed up. She was going to buy. They're going to buy a couple, one for her, one for her husband. And the Glocks it's not my gun. It's not my favorite gun, but they aren't necessarily a bad choice, right? But this woman, she has kind of tiny hands, and she bought like a G19, and she studied up on them, and she was pretty sure that this is what she wanted. Okay, this is what she wanted. This is the gun she wanted. Which honestly was not a bad choice. It's like the most popular gun out there, right? I'll be honest, we're just going to say that. Now, because she wanted, now I don't know what transpired there. But if you are a gun dealer, if you are a seller of firearms, should you look at her and say, okay, well, here's this gun that you're interested in. Here's this Glock. Here's this G19. Go ahead and dry fire it. The trigger's not perfect, but maybe the customer doesn't know much about triggers, right? Maybe here's the gun, and it's how you rack the slide. Now, if you see that your potential customer is having troubles with that slide, is having troubles with that gun, shouldn't you maybe offer up a solution? Whether it be like, well, here's a better gun that might fit you a little bit better. So try this, or here's this, or here's that. They don't have that responsibility. They aren't required to, but I feel like that should, if you're in it for all the right reasons, I feel like that should be a thing, right? You're not trying to talk them out, but you're trying to show them the different options, and not just think, hey, look, they're going to come buy a gun. Yeah, I saw them rack the slide. I saw them. It doesn't fit their hands. They can't rack the slide, but they want to buy it, so that's what they asked for. So I'm going to sell it to them, and hopefully they turn around and come back in and get another one later on that fits them when they find out that this one isn't perfect. I mean, there's that mentality too, and I know everyone is in it to make the money, and I'm not saying something is right or it's wrong. I just feel like there should be, be a good person. Be a good person and help people out. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm thinking about. And maybe that's why when I have this, I run this business here that, it's just, honestly, I'm not making $1 million, and some months I just barely get by, honestly. And you know, I do things like, I've been known to give people free classes. Oh, come back and let me help you with this. Come back and, yeah, I know. I mean, they spend their money on a class, and you know, we'll stay a little longer. Oh, we're in a groove. It's okay. Well, I'm not going to change the price of the class. Let's stay an extra 30 minutes and let's get this figured out for you. I feel like I want to help people. I'm passionate about it. I want to help people. I want to see them succeed. And so I give a little more. And a lot of people go, well, this is your business. This is your livelihood. This is how you feed your family. You need to charge more. You need to charge more for that extra time. You need to quit giving away free classes every now and then. And I do both, but I just want to help people. And I guess I just assume that everyone should do the same. And like I said, maybe that's going to be Patriot Defense downfall. I have no idea. Maybe that makes me a bad business person. You know, I look at the whole karma aspect of it. Well, karma, maybe it'll come back around. And I think it does. I think being a good person is more important than just wanting to get a bunch of money, honestly. Although money is a good thing, it kind of helps make the world go around, unfortunately. But I'm not picking on firearms dealers. I just, if you sell guns, be a good person. Just be a good person. There's a lot of times these people, they look at the state of the world. They look at what's going on in the world, and they get scared, right? There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world right now, and that's why they're buying a firearm to begin with. And a lot of times for people, if they're buying one, maybe two, sometimes they can only afford one between, for the family. It's a big purchase. It's a big investment in today's world, right? To buy a firearm. Be a good person. Make sure they're getting the right ones. I just stress, make sure they're getting the right guns and not just willing to buy a certain one so you sell it to them knowing that they'll probably be back to buy another one that fits them a lot better, when in all reality you knew that first one wasn't going to be any good. I can't be that person, and I would encourage you not to be either. I would encourage you to be a good person, and just be a good person and help people. This is coming from me, probably not the best business owner on the planet. So take it how you will. I don't even know how that sounds to you. I don't even know how that little spiel sounds to my audience. If you guys even will get it, if you think it's just a waste of me talking about this, but it's just kind of some thoughts I had this week. I am really excited about some stuff we got coming up, possibly. I had a grand idea when I was traveling through Oregon, when I was out running. I had a grand idea, and there might be something big coming up real soon, and maybe like a little video series or something like that to follow. It'll be fun. If it takes place, it'll be fun. I'm not ready to tell you much more than that now because I haven't solidified everything that I need to solidify. I need to do some more checking on laws and whatnot. But we might have some fun stuff coming up that will be hopefully rather entertaining for you to be a part of, and hopefully I'm successful at it if we decide to move forward with it. So stay tuned for that. More information will be coming. I'll leak it out on social media, on the podcast, which brings me to the fact that if you're not following me on social media and you're on social media, find us on Instagram, find us on Facebook. That's where I'll let some of the stuff out, be part of the conversation there. I've taken a few days off from posting on Facebook because I was out of town for about 4 days, and I need to get back into the groove, and I will do that. I promise. But follow us on all social media, even the TikTok, right? Even the TikTok. And then share this podcast. Share this podcast with family, friends, and just know you're going to hopefully start seeing 2 episodes a week. One will be a new one. One will be a tactical reload. I hope you enjoy both of them. I would appreciate that. I thank you again for all the support. If you got any comments or questions, you can call me. You can text me, area code 620-794-6223. That's area code 620-794-6223. You guys have a great week. I will talk to you later. Bye.